Hi, my name's Leah and I've been working as a therapist since 2015. I'm an integrative therapist, which means that I draw upon lots of different ideas and perspectives to help me understand you and your experiences, because I don't think there's like a one size fits all. I think everything in life is multi-dimensional, multi-perspectives. I tend to work mainly in the area of relationships. That could be relationships with family or friends, colleagues. And it's really interesting to see how the way that you see yourself in relation to others and how that is influencing and impacting on your relationships. The other area that I work in is around grief, bereavement and loss, but in particular an area called anticipatory grief, which is an area that if somebody was diagnosed with a terminal illness, a lot of losses and grieving happens straight away, because I think sometimes the words grief and bereavement imply a post-death loss and pain, but actually if a family member has a terminal diagnosis, there's an awful lot of losses and grief that starts to happen from that moment, and that's an area that I'm really interested in. I became a therapist because I'd previously been working as a support worker, working with homeless people in hostels, and then I moved into working with people with drug and alcohol issues, and then I moved into the women's sector and worked in a women's refuge and as a floating support worker. And I really loved that work and the people that I worked with, but it was very much the practical stuff. It was like sorting out benefits, sorting out housing, life skills. And there was a point where I started to become curious about what was underneath that surface level stuff. We had some clients that would just sort of come round and round in and out of the service, and I used to think, well, how has somebody got to this point? What's happened to them to get them to this point? I think particularly with the homeless clients, we just, it wasn't part of our job to ask about people's backgrounds or upbringings. And so we never really got underneath kind of how someone had come to be homeless, and how did they view themselves and the world, and what was keeping them stuck. We never asked that, and I really wanted to know the answer to that question. As a therapist, I think I'm supportive, I'm empathic. I will really listen carefully to what you're saying to try and understand. I will also gently challenge if I feel it's appropriate. I won't let you get away with blanket statements. I will be like, hang on, let's think about this, or let's explore this a little bit more, because I think that is where the good stuff is, where the learning is, where the change is. To be able to question, and also what we'll be doing is helping you to become your own therapist, so that you can start to challenge yourself. You can start to question yourself and go, hang on, am I only seeing one perspective here? What else is happening? What's the other person's perspective? What other influences are happening here? Just trying to encourage you to be curious and to be open to understanding and curiosity in others and in yourself. I think if you have a session with me, I think you will come away with some new ideas. I hope that you will come away feeling reflective and, again, starting to think and to question some of your assumptions that you perhaps had in life, assumptions about the world, assumptions about other people. And I think it's just starting to be curious about why things are the way they are, why you do things the way you do, and also to start to question whether you want to change things. Is there something in the way that you see the world that you want to update? Has the way that you've been doing things, like, is it working for you anymore? And I think if it's not working, then there's a question there, there's a gap and a space for some choice to be made. And, think about how you want to be, who you want to be. These are all things that are open to change and choice. I think it can be very easy to feel that how things are is how they are, that things are static, but we are constantly learning and taking in new information and updating our values and our beliefs and changing. And I think that's being human, is to evolve and to question and to learn. And I think that then positively impacts our relationships and our lives ultimately. I think therapy has really taught me to question and not to take things at face value. I think I used to be someone that would very easily just take something at face value and just go, okay, well, that's the way it is. But actually I really question now, and if I hear sort of quite broad statements, I will sort of prod that a little bit and go, well, hang on, what do you mean by that? Is that really true? Could there be another way of seeing this? Is there another perspective here? So yeah, I think I've really learnt to have that critical thinking aspect, and that definitely has spilled out into my private life, the way I see the world. I like to sort of prod and go, well, what else is happening here? Because it's very easy just to see one perspective and go, oh, that's the way it is. But actually there's always multiple sides and multiple perspectives. And I think to be curious about those is a really good skill to have and to learn.